small village of Hampi has played host to gods and empires. For hundreds of years, it was the capital of the Vijayanagara kings, who presided over a magnificent empire that stretched across the whole of southern India. Hampi provided several lines of defence against belligerent Muslim kingdoms to the north. Its rugged landscape of boulders and the torrential Tungabhadra river made the capital all but impenetrable to invading forces. The boulders that surround Hampi were used to build fortresses and 7 concentric walls enclosing the city. Successive rulers commissioned vast and intricate structures to celebrate the empire. Sculptors transformed the hard granite into portrayals of the awesome beauty of their kings and gods that watched over the land. Legend has it that the mythical monkey kingdom of Kishkinda was centered around Hampi, and that it was the birthplace of Hanuman, a Hindu deity endowed with immortality in battle and the power to induce fear in enemies but destroy it in friends. Many pivotal moments in the history of the Hindu gods took place here, such as the killing of Vali by Lord Rama. Two holy rivers, the Tunga and the Bhadra, converge just before they reach the Hampi Valley. In ancient times, the resulting Tungabhadra river was also known as Pampapati, the bride of Shiva. The river was the vital artery of the Vijayanagara Empire, irrigating its farmland, filling water tanks for merchants and their families, and flowing into the royal palaces. For the Vijayanagara, the nature here symbolized the beauty and generosity of the gods. After several hundred years of rule, Hampi had been transformed into a vast network of temples, the granite of its pillars supporting the whole weight of the empire. Virupaksha Temple is still one of the most impressive temples in Hampi and continues to be known as the Pampapati Temple. The majesty of the Vijayanagara dynasty began to decline with a major military defeat in 1565 at the hands of the Deccan Sultanates, Muslim warriors from the north. The sudden capture and death of the Vijayanagara leader, Alaya Ramaraya, scattered the ranks of his army and ultimately led to the demise of the empire. The Sultanate's army plundered Hampi and reduced it to the ruinous state in which it remains. Several years later, the British established Madras and a new era of industrialization began. The once heaving metropolis of a great Hindu empire is now a growing tourist attraction for a society which appreciates nature in a very different way. The monkeys that once inhabited the Kishkinda kingdom are now tossed scraps by passing tourists.
I am Mr. Madanlal, living here since 17 years to here in Hampi. When I came here, was not many tourists. Tourists used to live in caves and some houses and all without any comfortable things or anything, you know. Then tourists start to come to Hampi. Yeah, tourist industries is growing. A lot of growing now because they like this place more than other places. 15 years ago there is only 2 guest houses was there. But then from 98 start more, because tourists start to come here, they like more. So we say with police government's request, that's build something which is people can live there. If you live in caves and all, crime can happen. So then people start to build rooms. What is looking for helping to tourists to stay comfortable, nicely, safety. That was the reason, and that's how tourism grown. Now is in this place in my island, Virpaburgadi, is already like 22 guest houses are there. Around 600 rooms are there. 75% grown tourism since 15 years. Yes. Good for economies, good for people, because behind that, a lot of people living on it. You know, so many families who are working as a kitchen, as a washing, as a milkman, vegetable man, shop people, vegetable people, you know, like a lot of people, bread people, whatever. You know, they all of them living on it. Like 1,000 family living on it.
In 1999, the Hampi ruins were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This certification means that no one can live within 3 miles of the monuments. 2,000 locals currently face forced relocation from the homes they've made in and around the ruins. The divide between the tourists who visit Hampi to gaze at the ruins and the locals who live in the very structures they come to see is significant. Without proper systems for waste disposal, the locals are left to clear up after the tourists. In time, tourists will only be able to visit the ruins on guided tours, thus protecting the remnants of the Vijayanagara Empire from further damage. But no such protection is afforded to the surrounding landscape and the diversity of wildlife that inhabits it. There are plans to build large-scale hotels several miles away from Hampi. While this has the possibility to reduce the burden of waste management and overcrowding, these hotels will encroach on the diminishing habitat for Hampi's wildlife. Bobby Vallabchandra owns a large swathe of land that borders the Hampi monuments and sweeps through some of the area's most impressive landscape. Whereas his forebears built elaborate defences to protect Hampi, Bobby protects his land simply by allowing nature to look after itself.
Can you see the head?
This Indian python has been found trapped in a fisherman's net along a stretch of river that Bobby protects.
Just the head is out. The body is between the rock. ಜಲ್ದಿ ಬರಬೇಕು ಚಾಕು ತಗೊಂಡು. Just cut the net. This one, yeah, got.
The land has been in Bobby's family for generations. As a boy, Bobby walked the area with his father, and when his father gave him charge of the estate, Bobby immediately made his home here, shunning city life in Hyderabad and taking up the mantle as steward of the land.
There, the female is sitting on the nest. Yeah, the father is there on that rock. There on that boulder. That's the father. Mother is on this side. Nobody told me, it's just from the books. We started identifying all these birds.
Bobby started with 300 acres and built a small, low-impact resort for the sole use of wildlife enthusiasts. He went on to acquire another 10,000 acres by persuading his family to donate money to the preservation of their natural and national heritage.
We have collected about 5 quintals of bamboo seed, and now I'm making about 1 million trees of bamboo, and I want to give it at free of cost to the forest department, asking them to plant there and all that. All this is bamboo nursery, you see there.
Krupaka and Sanani are old friends of Bobby. They are also preeminent wildlife experts here in Hampi to conduct research for a new film they are making about wolves.
here he is trying to protect a unique ecosystem. All these boulders were, the vegetation around the boulders were almost depleted when I first saw. Now it's being protected, and the vegetation cutting has completely stopped in the sanctuary area and in the resort area. So the recovery is amazing. Like I didn't know at all that the bamboo, many types of bamboos and exist in this area. They're all coming back with vengeance, like they're regaining what they had lost all these years. It's an amazing recovery.
With the recovery of the vegetation comes the resurgence of the wildlife that inhabits the area. Until recently, the hunting and poisoning of wildlife was rampant, whether for food or as revenge for wounded livestock. But Bobby has banned hunting and the cutting of trees on his land.
Cutting down trees, and they were doing quarrying and everything. And all the animals in these areas, they had to come to the canal for the water, and they have to pass through these farmlands. Now, if in these pockets, if there's water, they don't need to travel that far, about 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers from the hills for water, So we created these small wetlands in those areas for that. And immediately after we created those, the human-animal conflict stopped. This whole stretch of the river and this whole island. This is an island. This whole area is protected.
The resulting sanctuary lies on the other side of a man-made canal, which was carved out of the earth to divert water from the new hydroelectric dam. "400 years ago, this land was patrolled by armies of the Vijayanagara Empire, guarding its affluence and bounty. Now, Bobby employs his own army, 25 guards or watchers who patrol the sanctuary on a daily basis, ensuring that no one is encroaching on the sanctuary, cutting trees or hunting animals. In the 30 years that he's been protecting the land, the jungle has grown at a phenomenal rate, eclipsing the surrounding scrub, which is subject to the dangers of a rapidly modernizing society.
ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಗುಟ್ಟುಗಳಂದ್ರೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಈಗ ದಾರು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಇದ್ರಾಗೂ ಅದ. ಇದು ಐನೂರು ಕುಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಇದ್ರಾಗೂ ಇದಾವೆ. ಇದು ಕರಿಯ ಕುಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಇದ್ರಾಗೂ ಅದಾವೆ.
Enkapor tells us that there are bears all around this area. This is the place where the bears and many other animals come down to the river to drink. On Bobby's protected land, there are 5 local villages where people still live a very traditional life, living off the land in closer harmony with nature.
About the local people and their attitude for the wildlife, it's naturally the conflict. You know, when you have very few livestock, you depend on it, you don't want any predators around. And if there is any animal moving which is eatable, should be eaten. You know? The problem is to address the poor village people who might be having few livestock, which are their livelihood. So if they are killed, naturally they'll be completely angry with the whole forest, wildlife, everything. So what Bobby has done is a beautiful novel idea. Like, he runs his own compensation system, where he compensates for every animal killed. This is a novel idea, and it's successfully implemented here. He has a lot of watchers who looks after the whole area, and they will immediately report if there is any kill, if a goat is killed. Like, if it is proved that it is killed by a wild animal, then they'll be paid compensation. So naturally this poisoning, everything has stopped. Now with slowly Bobby convincing these people and achieving certain amount of success in this area, it's fantastic. People come and report to him, and they're quite enthusiastic about have they tell you about what they saw. It means that it has generated some amount of interest in them. They might not be able to analyze it in a bigger canvas, but their attitude towards something moving has now changed from food to something interesting. You know, it's a huge change.
Bobby receives a phone call from a local farmer's wife. A leopard has come down from the hills and killed one of their goats. There's no sign of the leopard, but that night there are several kills in the area.
All the scavengers go by the scent. You can actually know that there's a dead animal from a long distance because of the smell. As it starts smelling, you know, for example, this buffalo, by tomorrow it'll start smelling, and then the hyenas might just get the smell of it and they come to the carcass. He called me when the shepherd was bringing his sheep from the other side. The leopard gave a try, and those guys just chased it away back into this hill, and he just went up half the way to the top of the hill, and he sat on a boulder.
The next morning, Bobby goes to investigate. He places several camera traps next to 3 different kills from the night before, hoping to catch a glimpse of the leopard when it comes to feed in the evening. Locals still use farming methods that have been around for centuries. There is little pollution because fewer chemicals are used and no fossil fuels are burnt. The absence of machinery means that birds, insects and frogs have not been driven from their age-old habitat. The whole village is involved in sowing and harvesting rice. The process is a ritual where prayers are made and thanks are given to the gods for the success of the harvest. The modern world is encroaching from all angles. With it comes technology and machinery that threatens to replace the traditional techniques and lifestyles of these local communities. In 2011, India's official population was 1.21 billion people, but unofficial estimates are as high as 2 billion, and the rate of growth is alarming. With so many mouths to feed, farmers are turning to methods that exploit the land with greater speed. Bobby returns to retrieve the camera traps the following morning. He spots a paw print near one of the kills. On one of the camera traps, he manages to capture 2 different leopards, most likely a mating pair. These 2 are lucky enough to be protected from human interference, as their habitat lies within Bobby's sanctuary.
The major threat for me, from my point of view, is the fragmentation and the habitat loss.
In 2008, more than 5 million tons of iron ore was extracted from this area. The following year, this more than doubled to 12 million tons.
In the evolutionary term, the fragmentation can be caused by a glaciation, phenomenon like glaciation. But present day, it is nothing but human pressure. Human pressure encroaching the lands and sinking of habitat, and so suddenly 2 forest patches will get separated. The loss of habitat and the fragmentation is the biggest threat we are facing now. It's all because of shortage of land and lack of vision.
Quarrying is rampant around Hampi. Often carried out by hand, this may appear to be a painfully slow process, but the boulders that form Hampi's unique landscape are disappearing at a rate of knots. Government records show that 265 metric tons of stone is crushed each day, but in reality it may be 5 to 10 times this amount, since most of the quarrying is done illegally by local villagers.
I always wondered how so many of these predators survive in this area. Like you have hyena, jackal, leopards, and civets, and jungle cats, rusty spotted cat, and many of them. Most of them are predators, and most of them are nocturnal, and they all survive in these boulders. See, that's the life inside those boulders. It's really unique for me, you know. But if once those boulders are broken, they might make few people rich. But the world will have lost a beautifully rugged and unique place. There is a marshland down here. A lot of birds have started slowly coming in. There were some roosting birds, but because of the hunting and the dynamite, the numbers were very less. Now it's increased enormously, and all the birds from all over this Hampi area will come to roost there. It's a beautiful sight in the evening. Generally, I think three types of egrets, and ibis and black ibis and mynas and a lot of other small birds also roost in that area. Some of the very shy and rare birds. Last 5-6 years, I think they have started nesting around the main resort area. So that says it all, you know. It talks about the restoration, it talks about the confidence they've gained in this area, and that means the protection is working. When I first saw this area, I was very impressed with the whole, the boulders and the rustic feel of it. But I also heard a lot of dynamites and the gunshots, and of course the quarry was all over, quarry for granite. So I felt a sort of bit sad about the whole development which is just beginning to happen. But the hunting was rampant, and dynamite for fishes was there all along the river. But now, at least this stretch of river is completely protected, and you don't get to hear the dynamites. Again, at least in this stretch, around 1.5 2 kilometers of stretch, you don't hear dynamites anymore. Now with all this effort of Bobby, even the fishermen are very happy because they're getting a better catch and the life has improved dramatically. Now we can see otters and crocodiles everywhere. It's very fantastically it has come back, you know.
Hindus believe that the Tungabhadra River was originally known as Pampa. She was born in the hills of Shimoga in northern Karnataka. Her father was Brahma, the Hindu creator, and her mother was the earth. Pampa knew that Shiva, the supreme Hindu god, used to go to Hermakuta hill to meditate. To gain his attention, Pampa performed many difficult tasks, praying and fasting, staring unblinkingly at the sun and the moon, whilst all the time focusing her mind on Shiva. Finally, Shiva noticed her and was so impressed with her tenacity that he offered her a boon or wish. She could ask him for anything in the world, so she asked for her true desire, which was to marry Shiva. All the gods came to the wedding, and Shiva gave his wife a new name, Pampapati. Koryappa tells us that he's been roaming this area for 20 years now, living off the land and making his living as a fisherman on the river. When it is needed, he sells his catch to the resort. He says that since Bobby has been here, it seems like the jungle is taking over. Coriappa says that there are many crocodiles in the area, all of different sizes. Some of them reach 15 feet in length and are hundreds of kilos in weight. In the times of the Vijayanagara, kings and queens, birds and animals alike, bathed and played in the river, honouring it as a sacred and precious gift from the gods. Now people no longer honour the sanctity of the river. Pampapati's water was once free-flowing and clean. Now it is restrained by the dams, and waste from cities and factories pollutes the water. The mines that strip the earth of its wealth turn Pampapati red, as if her mother's blood runs through her. There was a time when people took their shoes off out of respect to Pampapati before climbing into a coracle to cross the river. Now noisy motorboats rush across Pampapati, trailing oil and fumes.
one person, thousands and thousands of one person all over the world, maybe they can make a difference. But I was just wondering what Bobby would think about this. I think Bobby, straight on the face, if he talks the way he talks, he would say, come on, I'm not trying to make a difference to the world. I'm just trying to do whatever I believe in. And he doesn't believe that the whole world can be changed by one person or few persons. But one person working all over the world, I think at least can bring an attitudinal change.
Bobby takes some of his guests on a night safari.
A little later than now, say from 10 onwards, there's a chance that we might get to see a porcupine or a wild boar. Because most of the animals are nocturnal, no? They're really active in the night. It's fun if we get to see a leopard or a bear or a hyena, bigger animals. No? You want to try that? Huh? Just
Wow.
see the light. Raptors like marsh harriers and red kites, all these roost there. This is a neem tree which has just started fruiting. It's called a foxbat.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Yeah. On the fence there.
What was it? Jackal.
It's the first time I saw one ever.
Yeah?
Yeah, one. Yeah, I think so.
You did see that?
Brilliant. That was amazing. Wow.
Can you see it? The dark form.
Yeah.
The dark form, it's a palm civet. There you see the eyes now. See, there's a jungle cat here. We'll just release it in the river. That's it. We'll just take it.
Did it bite you?
No, it didn't.
How old is this one?
This one about
1 year old.
about 6 months. If it's in the when they are harvesting, they find these, they might just kill them. You know, people get scared and they throw stones over it. Tirga again. On the road, it was there. Release Margaret.
I think he doesn't believe that he can change the whole world. But he also doesn't want to sit quiet because he wants to do something for what he loves. Whatever he earns here, most of the money is going to conservation works on his own. You know, he just does it because he likes it. He just loves it. He doesn't want to go into the discussion of whether I protect it for a longer period, whether it helps the environment, whether it helps the global environmental picture, nothing. He just does it because he loves it. So he puts in all most of the profit he makes here into his conservation works. I think the whole of this rocky hills, most of them still are intact because of one man, this fellow. It's true. It's true. If you just imagine, if you break them, that's the end of it. It's not even like ecosystem. They die, it can never come back. Just for the very beauty of it. Leave alone the life inside that. One thing I can tell you for sure is in a small place like this, a person like Bobby has definitely made a difference. As I was talking to you about the very rocks, they're saved for the next generation just to have a look at it. So he has made a difference. He has made a difference to this small part of the world.
Throughout history, as many great empires have risen and fallen, Hampi has witnessed the wars of gods and men. Through it all, nature's own empire strives on. Thanks to one man's efforts, this sanctuary is thriving. But this mythical haven can only survive if modern society confronts its duty as custodian of the natural world.
Ayahuasca is Otorungo Banesitum Mairi Otorungo Banesitum Sunare Las vitae los tribus paz, paz y amor, luz del Dios muere, luz de oro, rosa, 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 muere. Luz del Dios de rosa y rosa y oro, illumine. Paz, paz y amor. No quiero aluni mi mamacita ay yo ay rempanecido todos, todos iguales. Abrir, 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 abrir su vedándose. Más allá del mundo más allá del universo, Mairi, todos, todos iguales.